Never mind cut.
What'd you do this time?
Salmon trolling for cut plug herring. Hi everybody, I'm Sam from Oregon Fishing and Charlie's behind the camera at the moment. Today we thought we'd run you through our trolling for salmon setup using cut plug herring. A lot of the videos that we've seen and a lot of the advice columns that we've seen focus really hard on the specific rod and reel, and they want you to spend hundreds of dollars to get set up. And we wanted to show you that you can do it with basically what you've got. I mean, there's a few specifics that you kind of need, but for the most part, you can get out on the water and catch some of these beautiful fish quite quickly with a small investment. If you see anything wrong with this setup or you have any advice or anything like that, please feel free to drop it in the comments. Of course, after you've liked the video and subscribed to the channel. First, you need to make sure that your rod can handle pulling in anywhere from just your 10 to 12 ounce lead cannonball to a giant 60-pound fish. Your rod can be anywhere from 8 to 12 feet long. I prefer about a 10-foot rod. This particular one is 8'6". Next, the reel. I recommend a level wind here, as it's way better if your rod will fit in a rod holder for this type of fishing. Most rod holders are built for level wind reels. You'll want to do a little research here to make sure the reel is strong enough, but most metal-bodied level wind reels will do in a pinch. Just bear in mind that we're not talking about a bait casting reel, but a level wind. They are a bit heavier duty and the brakes and bail are set up a little differently. On to the first part of the business end of this setup, the line. This is 65-pound braided line. Stealth or high vis, it doesn't really matter. With high vis, you can color the last few feet with a Sharpie to make it dark. Just make sure that you can fit a good amount. I recommend starting at 300 yards. If your reel can handle it, there's nothing wrong with putting more on. Once you've got all that line spooled on, you'll need to decide how you're going to attach the weight. I like these sliding swivels that slide onto your main line above the first swivel. The reason for that is that if your weight gets caught in the net while you're trying to net a fish and gets out and goes for another run, he won't snap the line at your weight, or it's stuck to the net. The line will peel off just like it did before, and you can fight the fish while your partner gets the weight untangled. With a fixed weight or a spreader, he's going to either snap your line at the dropper or more than likely your main line. That's one of the worst experiences I've had salmon fishing, and it always gets people upset with the net operator even if he did nothing wrong. After my sliding swivel, I've got a bead. Put a bead in between any sliding tackle and a knot, as the bead protects the knot. First thing on the terminal end, I've got a 200-pound mono bumper. This serves a few purposes. First, it prevents a lot of tangle, or at least makes things easier to untangle when snarls happen, and they do happen. Second, flashers are expensive, and I hate losing them. This all but guarantees that any breaks will occur below the flasher where we want them. One step down and we've got another bead chain. Any additional twist you can keep out of any portion of your line is a good thing. I buy these bumpers pre-made as they are dirt cheap and I don't have the crimp tool to make them. And they come with the bead and bead chain already installed. After that bumper, we have an extra large dual luck swivel that we know can handle the weight of the monster you're trying to catch. Then it's onto your flasher. These days I keep an assortment of colors in both triangles like this one, as well as 360s like this one. The important thing to remember is that the triangles do not impart any action on your bait or lure, but the 360s create a swinging circle or thumping motion to your bait, kind of like this. So they kick your bait around in a thumping circle. This can influence your decision on leader length a bit, but for the most part, if one's not working, try the other, in several different colors. Below the flasher, it's onto another heavy-duty duo lock and your leader. The leader I use is 25-pound fluorocarbon. I tie a double surgeon's knot to create a loop in my leader, so that way they're easy to change out on the boat. Have a few of these tied up before your trip, as salmon have very sharp teeth and can weaken the leaders very quickly. Run your fingers from top to bottom regularly to check for abrasion, and visually look for any stretching after a fish or snag occurs. Some people also put a swivel chain, a bead chain, in the middle of their leader here to again prevent any of that line twist even this far down, and it doesn't seem to impact how many fish you catch. At the bottom of your leader are your hooks. For trolling cut plug herring, we use a dual hook mooching rig. We'll do a video soon about how to tie these up, or you can buy them pre-made as well. Make sure that your hooks are high quality and sharp. These are rather dull as they're the same hooks that were on the rod for the last salmon fishing video, and I need to swap them out. A good way to verify sharpness is to drag the point across your nail like this, and the point should stick or catch as you drag it across. As you can see, these aren't, so they're pretty dull. Here's Charles setting up his rod so you can see in detail how it's done.
I've got the end of my braid here. First thing I'm going to do is slide that sliding swivel down the line. Once we've got the sliding swivel for your dropper attached, we put a bead on here to protect our first knot. And after that bead, we're going to tie a bead chain swivel onto the end. I'm going to use the Palomar knot. We'll go over how these knots are tied in an additional series of videos here before too much longer. As always, when the knot's tied on, we go ahead and trim off the end. Make sure you don't trim it so close that it pulls back through the knot if anything slips a little bit. After that, we've got our bumper prefabricated with the dual lock swivel on the top end. We're just going to attach that to our bead chain here. From there, we're going to pick a flasher. This time I'm going to use a 360. It's important that this end with the little rib goes towards the back. I'm going to slide one end of the dual lock on there, and then I'm going to attach the flasher to the other end. There we go. Make sure that you lock and secure both sides of the dual lock swivel. Now that I've got my flasher set up, we're going to add another dual lock swivel, and on that dual lock swivel we're going to put our leader with our mooching rig on it. Note that I do have another bead chain swivel in the middle of my leader. I like it set up that way, and I've found that it doesn't seem to impact how effective your leader is. Once again, make sure you lock both sides of the swivel. Now that we've got that all set up, we're going to go back up here to the top. And we're going to take a length of monofilament. I like to use about 12-pound test. It's heavy enough that it usually withstands any action that the rod goes through. And it's weak enough that if your weight snags up, which is the most likely thing to happen, you just lose your cannonball. I'm just going to use a simple overhand knot to create a large loop here. The important thing is that this loop needs to be large enough for the cannonball to go through. So we'll need a little bit more. Then we're going to take that loop, we're going to feed it through the eye on our weight, and then we're going to swing our weight back through the loop. That makes it super easy to change out your weights if you need to go from a 10 ounce to a 12 ounce or vice versa. And once we've got that done, we're going to tie another overhand loop, slightly smaller. This one just needs to be big enough for a swivel to go through. Now I usually just tie these up on the boat because it's important that you not attach your weight to your rod until you're ready to put it in the water. These weights are pretty heavy and very inconvenient and sometimes dangerous to have swinging around. There we go. This dropper is a little bit longer than I would normally use. Ideally you want the length to be as short as possible from here in the middle here. More length means the weight's swinging around faster and thus with more energy when you're trying to net a fish. So we're going to put the swivel through here. There we go. That is your basic salmon trolling setup. So as you can see, we've got both rods set up for trolling for Tidewater salmon. Tidewater salmon season is coming to an end here shortly, so we might have a break in fishing. What do you think, Sam?
Well, I'm sure we can fish for something. There's a couple rivers I want to learn, which doesn't necessarily matter if the fishing's really good, so the fishing videos might not be, catch frenzies, but and there's always trout.
There is always trout. And there's about 1.5 million different ways to fish for them.
Yes, there is.
Well, let us know if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.